the church historically has basically said submit to the government, just do what you're told.
We
No.
we could do a whole episode on this.
That's preposterous.
Historically, if you were just a secular historian, like a historian of sort of Europe or something like that, you'd be like, what is this guy talking about?
Or a church historian, any historian.
A church historian,
Yeah.
historian of like the New Testament church, any time after that. Whew. But I thought you were going to stop it because I thought you were going to go back and make some kind of comment about Todd Friel and Romans 13.
Well, we are.
But,
we'll get to that later in the show.
We'll get back to it. But just so people who may have been living under some kind of a rock, we're a little bit late to the Todd Friel commentary show.
I don't think so.
No?
My meme page was the first to make a big deal out of it. And now James White's talking about it in others, but my meme page was the first to make a big deal of it.
Well, that's what I mean. If your meme page, what is it? If your meme page has already covered this, we're late. Presuppositionally.
Christian memes for immediatist teens.
Yeah. This is where I'm like, oh, I am 41 because I don't understand what you're talking about. But no, I've seen a number of people and a number of pages basically just going, what is Todd Friel saying? And I've just been kind of like, Todd Friel's saying what Todd Friel's long been saying. This is like, I could have told you that he was going to say this very thing. But we're not going to get into the context really about the mandated vaccines or anything like that. But this is a video that was just put up a week ago where Todd Friel is basically, he's saying that he wants to help the Christian work through these things, how to deal with mandated vaccines. And he says, pay attention to my teaching on Romans 13 in another video and other things, because I'm here to help you do the biblical thing. But in the midst of this video, he's going to make a couple of statements about church history, the doctrine of the lesser magistrates, and compliance that we want to deal with.
Yeah, and it's kind of preposterous what he's saying. And James White did, as mentioned, after my memes, and someone sent in my memes, and then he did a response video too, and he mentioned the memes were what got him to do it. But anyway, he says, and James White is a major church historian. That's kind of that's right in his wheelhouse, or that's one of his wheelhouses. Mm-hmm. And he says, this is just absurd. Like if you read church history, there's no way you can get from the church fathers and up through the ages to that view. And let's just go through a few quotes here. Yeah. All right. So John Knox is often the first one that we go to for kind of for defiance of tyrants. He says, "True it is, God has commanded kings to be obeyed," right? In Romans 13, in Titus, and other places. "True it is, God has commanded kings to be obeyed. But likewise, true it is that in things which they commit against his glory, he has commanded no obedience." Right? And so that's, again, pretty clear from John Knox. We've got many others. We're not going to go through all these because I think I put too many on here.
Yeah, but it's not a question here of like whether this is biblical or not at this point. We're just dealing with whether he's making a completely foolish, ignorant statement about history. Yeah. Whenever John Knox, who's definitely a part of church history, he's things which they commit against his glory, he has commanded no obedience.
Right.
That's the view, church history.
And so John Calvin, who for people in kind of the Reformed Todd Friel sphere, this is one of, if not the most important theologian of church history, or at least of modern church history, or sort of modern church history. John Calvin, in his commentary on Daniel, writes, "For earthly princes lay aside their power when they rise up against God, and are unworthy to be reckoned among the number of mankind. We ought rather utterly to defy than to obey them whenever they are so restive and wish to spoil God of his rights, and, as it were, to seize upon his throne and draw him from heaven." Right? John Calvin. Who's obviously a very influential guy for
Todd Friel's a Calvinist.
Yeah.
Yet he doesn't seem to be tracking here.
Yep.
That John Calvin would be an important figure in church history.
Yep. And we got some other important Reformation guys in here. We got Luther, we got Ulrich Zwingli, but we're not going to read all these. Let's go to Thomas Aquinas, just so we have one from kind of the earlier period in church history. We got Aquinas writing, "A tyrannical government is not just because it is directed not to the common good, but to the private good of the ruler, as the philosopher states. Consequently, there is no sedition in disturbing a government of this kind, unless indeed the tyrant's rule rule be disturbed so inordinately that his subjects suffer greater harm from the consequent disturbance than from the tyrant's government. Indeed, it is the tyrant rather that is guilty of sedition, since he encourages discord and sedition among his subjects, that he may lord over them more securely. For this is tyranny, being conducive to the private good of the ruler and to the injury of the multitude. So we've got just quote after quote after quote.
From the beginning to the end. But I mean, again, like I know you have more, you've researched more here, but the Martin Luther one, just to end it up, such is the state of things at this day that men neither can nor will nor indeed ought to endure longer the domination of you princes. Yeah. So we're talking about the guy who ignited the Protestant Reformation. And if you don't think the Protestant Reformation is part of church history, well, I want to be nice because I kind of like Todd Friel, but I kind of also want to say you probably shouldn't have a program if you're going to be making.
You shouldn't have a Protestant program.
Yeah, that's true. Or you shouldn't have. I don't know. I mean, I want him to have a program, but I want him to not say really dumb stuff. So on the question of whether or not what he said right there in just that little clip, is this the position of church history? False.
Yeah.
Total false.
There is no Protestant Reformation, and he's going to, as we go on here, he's going to actually state by name the doctrine of the lesser magistrates and then come out against it. There is no Protestant Reformation without the doctrine of the lesser magistrate. The whole thing was based on lesser magistrates standing up to Rome, to the emperor, to the kings of their nations. That was the whole thing, right? In Worms, in Magdeburg, in Saxony. The Reformation would have been stamped out if it were not for the doctrine of the lesser magistrate. Yeah. There's no Protestant Reformation without it.
Yeah, but to be clear and fair to history, there were people like Todd Friel during the Protestant Reformation telling all those people to calm down.
To chill, yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Romans 13, Martin.
Yeah. Hey, Martin, Romans 13.
Yep.
I cannot do anything other.